Okay, can. So, okay, let me start. Hi, I'm Shazwanee, Senior Data Scientist in Axiata Analytics Center. I have been working for about like almost 3 years there, but I've been involved in this analytics field for about like 10 years already. And how to say, I started as a fresh grad in Celcom as a data scientist, you can say, because back then they don't call it as a data scientist, they call it as predictive modeler, or they call it as analyst or a BI analyst. But the job there is about the same what you are having now. I mean, those the actual data scientists doing it. Yeah.
So basically, you mentioned it was called a predictive
modeling. Yes, modeling. So how does it work is because of my final year project is related to forecasting, and basically I need to predict what will happen if then something. Let's say let me put it this way. Let's say a customer has purchased a 30 ringgit top up as for this time today. So what will happen to this customer in the next month? Will they still continue engage to the service, or they will then opt out and then change to the service provider? So this method or activity has been in the industry for the past 10 years or way before that. Yeah. Just that now it has evolved and people call it as a data scientist job. Yeah. So that's how the name of data scientist has evolved lah.
So I think we've also realized the fact that data science also has covered a lot, right, Q? And like you mentioned, the names has evolved. I think every year there will be for it.
Yes.
Am I mistaken that I've read that data science, that term was coined, I think maybe it was somewhere in the 1980s, or is it somewhere more recent after that it gets a bit more popular?
Actually, the term data scientist has been popular for the past 5 years. So suddenly it can become boom, and then when the European also call it as a data scientist, and then Malaysian also, they just simply use the word data scientist, whereas the actual job is actually has to involve of a data engineering process, a little bit of the data analyst, and to understand and to get the insight and to able to make the whole process as a complete process. So that is the actual role of a data scientist. So that what I has been doing like for the past 10 years. It's just that my name, the title of the job
changes.
So the name now is more how you
commercial.
say, trending lah. Yeah, commercial.
Yes. It like AI and the deep learning and something like that. Yes.
But it is actually doing something that is already an existing need of actually analyzing data over the course of the years.
Correct.
If I may ask also, what was your major dulu in university? What did you take up in university? And did you really from an early age wanted to be in technology related? From sekolah rendah, from primary, secondary, how did you begin?
So surprisingly, my degree was stats. So I was graduated from University of Malaya in statistics. And along the way, I did my master's in applied statistics. Okay, how I able to venture into this? My final year project, or back then when I was in the UM, I took this Java class. So we have this program in the UM, how you can apply maths using Java.
Oh, I see. Hello, I think you're frozen, Miss Shazwanee.
Oh, is it?
You're frozen sudah. Okay, tak apa.
Okay.
So we stopped at you took Java, was that?
Yes. So for stats program, we have the options whether you want to take Java or not. And I took that course, and it was a turning point for me. So I think it is very good for me to able to apply the theory of maths into the actual problem. So since then, I took another program language. They then call it as MATLAB. And because of, I think I like the programming behind it, I did my final year project related to how to solve maths problem using MATLAB. Yeah. So for that project, I use the differential equation, basically how we can predict something using the program that I need to develop. So that's considered my starting point as a data scientist lah. Yeah. So I was hired by Celcom.
Okay, we lost you at you were hired by Celcom and there was a pause.
Oh, sorry, I think because of the fiber connections here.
Yeah.
So I was hired by Celcom as a predictive modeler because of my background. I mean, because of my experience, able to implement maths theory and also programming.
I see. Would you say that when you started to learn, was it MATLAB? That language, that's on your own accord, meaning to say
No, MATLAB actually also offered by UM.
I see. Okay.
So you had two different software skills that you actually picked up in addition to the statistic course that you were doing, which is the Java class and the MATLAB, right?
Yep.
So would you say that those two skills are somewhat integral on what you do today?
Oh, Ms. Shazwanee, sorry.
It's okay. I think the logic behind it is the same. It's just that the language differs slightly a bit. So when I was in Celcom, we use SQL script or SQL language to do the data massaging, and now people using Python and also R to do that. Having said that, just a different language but the same concept.
Okay, what is data messaging or massaging?
Massaging.
You kind of like weaving to the data into a certain language, right?
Yes.
Interesting. I'm so sorry because I'm not from IT background, so some of these terms are quite interesting. I can somehow imagine what data massaging is. So yeah. So in your class back in UM, how many girls were there in your class?
I say it's a 50-50, but if you want to put, because it's maths, right? So maths is always famous. Situation where for maths course, you will see a lot of Chinese. So among the Malays back then, it's just only like 20% of it. Okay. So out of 20%, only 5 to 10% only the female students.
I see.
Yeah. Okay. So we are kind of minority, but having said that, we did receive a lot of support from all the lecturers, especially in terms of the Java, because Java is considered new for the math students. So yeah.
Okay. So I was also wondering, let's say for example, for students who wants to be interested in data science from, let's say, after SPM and they want to go in the courses that they take. And then of course sometimes some courses that are given to us, especially if it's handed, from UPU, is the generated courses that we get in the end, it might differ from what they if let's say they get the course that they want, and B, if they don't get the course that they want, what on their own can they do to maybe prep themselves for the future of data science, not to be limited to what they already have? Anything that they can learn?
Yes. So I would say it depends on the individual, what they like to do. Because I've always loved maths since my secondary school. So back then, my option was either biology or maths. But after I did my matric and I think that I hate biology, hence I pursue with maths. And then from maths I think I like how can this maths theory that I have learned, right, that we then able to help the world, or I would say to apply what we have learned. And since if you have the sense to apply what you have learned, and also to then help the world become better, there's always a way to do that. So for a data scientist, if let's say for a try,
Okay.
so they can give a try. Take a basic programming course, Python, for example, and if they think that they like it, then they can pursue it. If they really hate it, don't have to.
Yeah. So basically what you're saying is try. So
Yes.
yeah, so because you biasalah kan, you don't know, you tak kenal mesti tak cinta. So
Yeah.
start small first. Try a bit. Let's
Yes.
see your
Yes.
interest with it.
And if I may add, I like it the way that when Nadia was asking the question is actually coming from, I've set an objective which is to become a data scientist, and how do I get there? But the way that Ms. Shazwanee was explaining it, that was actually what I was interested in, and I wanted to ask in the same way as well, because back in the day when you first started, there was no data scientist, right? You're not actually setting a goal to become a data scientist, but it's rather your interest in mathematics, right? I was wondering, how do you look at it, maybe from that perspective as well? When you were when you took up statistics and applied statistics, what was it that you were setting your career path to become eventually at that point in time, before you became a data scientist?
Okay. So when I took my degree in stats, along the way on the courses that I took, right, and I also had a conversation with my prof. So when you had a conversation with your prof, right, they will always try to like make you think further, and they will always ask you, okay, so what's next? What's next? So you have to think, what do you want to be, or what do you want to do for the next 2 years or the 3 years? Okay, so let's say if you want to say, okay, I want to be able to then apply all these theories to help Malaysia to be to be a better country, for example. So they will then help you, okay, what you should do, or what are the path that you should take to work in a Salcom. So for the first 6 months, I was like a little bit, it's not blur, just that I know that I can actually do more, but how? So, and I do some research and exploration, and I think by further study in masters, and I did survey on a few IPTA, and I think the course that been offered by a UM will then adding more value to my job. Hence, I take the master's class lah. So from the master's class, yes, it is definitely, I would say 100% helped me a lot. Basically teach us how to do the data analysis in a correct way. Just that from my background using Java and the MATLAB, I know that if we have this programming background, it will then help us to expedite the things. So we have this maths fundamental, and we will have the technology to help us to calculate the result faster.
Essentially, you're using the tools which is in a different platform, but essentially trying to get into the same end.
Yes,
way, right?
correct. Yes, correct. So I know after I finish masters for next 2 years, I need to do this kind of project. Yeah, something like that.
I think because it is in a way that the students here, the digital ninjas here, and those who will be watching the recording later will be able to appreciate, because how do you prepare for a job that doesn't exist yet, for them? But everything is changing there, even the term data scientist coming out, probably in the last 5 years, like what you said. You don't know if, let's say, you want to be nak pasang ambition, or you want to set your ambition, you don't even know what to call the ambition yet, when you don't really see it, or it hasn't existed yet. So that's quite interesting to see as well. And I wanted to maybe get your experience in terms of when you were saying earlier the type of task of a data scientist. I suppose that it falls under the big ambit of data science, where you have the bottom of a pyramid. If you were looking into it as a pyramid, it would be your data gathering and how you actually collect all the sensors, if you're using any sensors, or how you're actually collecting the data, all the way to the analysis part. And I think that the top now will be AI and machine learning. Maybe you could actually help us demystify it a little bit, because I think a lot of our kids will be very interested to hear all these three different areas.
Yes, I think it is kind of blessing to me as well, because I started work in a telco. So telco is known as very rich of data. And then Celcom, I mean not only Celcom, Malaysian population around like more than 30 million already, and Celcom base back then was like more than 10 million already. So we have like so rich of a data, and we then able to do any kind of exploration. It's just that in this field, it will then consume like 60% of your time to do the data cleaning, to do the data massaging, for you to then able to then identify the on the correct data to be what they are always saying, garbage in, garbage out.
GIGO.
So because it consumes 60% of your time, you need technology behind it to help you to then speed things up. Okay, because telco actually move in a fast-paced environment. Let's say, for example, a new product launch today, they want something by tomorrow, or they want us to be then able to predict what will happen to this customer on the next month. Yeah. So that kind of evolve. It will then help a data scientist skills to say their learning curve will then spike a lot. Yeah, because of the telco itself. Yeah. But having said that, I have concerns from my other friends in the other industry, for example, bank, because bank they have a lot of regulations and something like that. So as us, so I will always tell them, it always go back to your goal. And let's say if your goal is to solve this kind of problem, what are the things that you think will then help you? For example, in terms of data, what are the features that you think will that help you to solve this kind of problem? So you need to list out all the variables or the features that you think will that help you. List all, and you then check whether you have or not. Okay, have, proceed. Don't have, then just cancel all. If you have, also proceed. If then, so this is considered a step one before you start any the data analysis or model. So once you have do the data gathering, we then move to the next phase. The next phase is data cleansing. You do the data cleansing. Once everything is okay, then only you move to the modeling. Modeling will just only take like 20% of your time, because 60% from the stage one on the data on the it's about the same in terms of the method, in terms of the script, it's just about the same. And then another 20% is where we tweak on the result output, they call it. Yeah. So this whole process will take, I don't know, it depends on 1 month or 2 months.
How many people will get involved in a project like that usually? And what are the types of different roles are they playing?
So for a simple project, like super simple project, it's only one data scientist needed, because data scientist is a mixture of a data engineer, data analyst, and the data scientist itself. Okay, but for a big project, whereby if we need a dedicated data engineer to do that, hence probably we will have a mixture of 3, whereby we have 1 data engineer and 2 data scientists. Yeah. So the role of a data engineer here is to ensure that all, the data, so the DE role is to ensure that the correct data being fit in. Okay, and the data scientist role too, because we have a lot of data to explore. Hence, we can able to then split the responsibility. Mm. So this is the same method that we apply here in Axiata. Same as well with Celcom as well, and my other company as well. Mm.
Okay, thank you. I think that's a very good way of trying to understand the entire quagmire, which is data science, because the name itself puts you off guard a little bit of trying to understand what they do. If you're looking at maybe, if I'm trying to paraphrase Shazwanee a little bit, maybe you're trying to say that the engineers are probably your people looking around mining the data, like miners, and trying to decide what are they supposed to mine, what are they actually bringing back, and the data scientists would be looking at these blocks and blocks of mine that has been collected, and trying to figure out how they can come up with something that is useful from all of that, right? Just talking into like a fable story punya type of very easy to understand flow, I suppose.
Mm.
Yeah. So I think for aside from just to understand what they do now, you mentioned earlier that you have friends who are also analysts, data scientists from different industries and all that. Could you maybe share with us a little bit of like how you see the type of diversity or the type of opportunities that is open to a data scientist today?
Okay, so before jump into my into my other friends' experience, so before Axiata, I work in Astro as well. So Astro also is another playground for data scientists or the data engineer or the data analyst. I mean, these kind of people to jump into and do a lot of exploration, because Astro has really about the channel, and in fact we can actually do the something that Netflix has been done. So these kind of people, I mean these students can do their internship there and basically help Astro how they able to do something like Netflix. Yeah. And that's one thing. And for my other friends, they are in the banking and insurance. Some of them also working in the airlines. So the airlines also, if you notice that, let's say you want to buy ticket using the Air Asia, right? Some people did notice that if you buy earlier, you will able to get a cheaper price, and if you buy later, you will get the expensive price. And also talking about the different seating arrangement and also with a different price. So that was one of my friends' work actually. Yeah. So basically, applying expedite in terms of the result, so that we then able to give a near real time output to the customer. Mm. So yeah, so far I don't think like Malaysia has a rigid environment to help this. I mean, people like us to then explore. Malaysia itself has a very rich of a data.
I think we have a question right now. Anis, are you ready?
Hi, I'm Shazwanee. Sorry if my background is quite noisy because I'm at the hospital. I have work here. So yeah, my question is, I do concern about how this tech career is being exposed to the community, especially like our age, where we need to get to explore the new careers that will be involved in the IR 4.0, like data scientist, like AI engineer, and so on. But right now, if we look at in Malaysia, some of our teenagers didn't actually know about this and they don't get the right exposure towards this career. So you as a data scientist, how will you approach this teenager to make it seems like data scientist is actually a great career and they can try it, because when I heard your explanation towards your roadmap towards being a data scientist, I feel like, oh, data scientist actually is very easy to do. You know, because you be a data scientist just through coding, how you implement maths in coding. So for us, like who is very common with technology, we see that like an easy thing. But how about the community out there? Like
Mm.
the one who has no basic IT education or so on, how are you going to approach them?
So actually, to be honest, I will always say, so maybe an introduction to Python for all the secondary students. If we can do that, then it will be better. So from there, let's say if you do classes among the 100 students, after that we then ask you. So how many of you like really enjoy this course? So if let's say 100% of them like it, then we then can propose, okay, these are the next steps that you can take if you want to pursue in this road, for example. And if let's say from the classes, 50% hate it, then it's fine. At least they have tried. So if you have not tried, you will never know. Mm.
All right, thank you, Miss Shazwani. Sorry, I have work to do, so I will on off my camera.
It's okay. Thank you. Thank you for your question.
She's helping her mom out at the hospital, doing some data mining as well, actually.
Oh, it is very good.
Yeah, but manually. Dia punya data mining dia manually sikit. Dia kena look through.
Yeah.
Because I mean, one of my friends bugging him to then help him how to do these things. And then we're like, alah, ni senang je if you have the right tools, but then it's okay.
But I think like how Anis was mentioning, the fact that how, like he was, Karim was asking you to demystify, this whole data science mystic thing, that when people hear it, it's awesome. But what is it, how, when you break it down like that, I think somebody like Anis, she just finished her SPM last year. So, if she can see how your explanation was actually quite simple and understand, then it's something that we'll definitely share. And also just to share with you, Ms. Shazwani, your video will actually be edited into smaller video bites that we will later share with teacher counselors of tech careers in schools all over Malaysia. So we hope that, with your explanation, like how Anis understand it, it was quite simple. We hope that explanation too will help other students from all over Malaysia to understand and be interested in science as well. Okay, next question, Ms. Shazwani. Let's say if, for example, a teacher, like I mentioned, teacher counselors in schools, what can they do to maybe start the kids to be interested in the data science in your realm? Like, like what activity maybe, because of course, teacher counselors are not data scientists themselves. So what steps would you like to propose if, let's say, for example, for your younger self, if you had that opportunity, or maybe for your child, what activities should the teachers do at school to be exposed to exercise?
So we had this among my circle of friends. So they started with, how to say, intro to programming, which is actually Python, to 4 to 6 years old students. I mean kids. So yeah, they kind of early age, right? Yes. So it is an eye-opening for me as well. So because you will never know what the kids love. So whether they are prone to arts, or they are prone. We need to expose them as much as we can. Career fair or a career talk that interest from one, I think, because back then when my Microsoft Word, the Excel, and the PowerPoint. So during that time, I think that, oh, I love this. This is so canggih back then. Yeah. So I think if the if the students feel that way, meaning that they have that kind of interest and further.
I think especially for the digital ninjas here today, they've been with this program with us called the Digital Ninja Career Immersion X. So they have actually been doing some research where they're actually exposed to data gathering, the collecting and mining of the data, how they can analyze it and how they can visualize and display the data to audiences and all that. So I think I do hope they see that the similarities on what they're actually doing now is also a simulation of what they can actually do in the future. I think they've been using with Excel, so not to the level of Python or SQL or R or just programming just yet, but at least on deriving certain functions on Excel and trying to make a chart look better, things like that.
Yes, correct. Actually, please don't downgrade Excel, because Excel is considered a starting for all. I would say it is a mother. I mean, I can consider Excel as a mother, because Excel will then help you to build your logic. Okay, if you have a strong logic, definitely you will be able to write any kind of codes. Yeah, and then if you are, and then based on your interest to help solving problem, you will definitely able to proceed with that. Hence, I think the youngsters will help Malaysia to move into Smart 4.0, whereby a lot of the smart device that you guys can do. I have this one project related to the smart farm as well, and also I've been to Huawei Innovation Center, where create and also been test out in terms of the smart water, the smart farm, the smart meter as well. So this kind of thing, we started. I mean, how did they do? They start with the smart device, and then do the data collection, and after we collect a good amount of data, then after that come the role of a data scientist, whereby the data scientist will jump in and look on the data and try to gather some insight. Then after that, we build some model to do some predictions, and then as the end result to contribute back to the community. So that's how I see on the whole process should be. Yeah.
It's interesting. Okay, so now we okay. I think from your explanation, I think we've started doing this Excel thing from quite a bit, right, Kayu, with the digital ninja. So now that you mentioned it, that Excel is the mother of logic, then we really must get digital ninjas in the future to work more on Excel. I think that's how we, I guess, entice them in data science as well. At the same time, for them to build Excel skills.
Correct. Yeah. So the Excel also help the data scientists, or these people to do data analysis. So for you to be a good data scientist, you need to have understanding on the data engineering part, and also able to analyze and also generate insight. So this is the role of a data analyst. So Excel helped me a lot to become a good data analyst, because for you to then produce a good chart, how would you know whether you should present it into pie chart or a bar chart or a line chart, right? So this is a very basic thing. Excel would help you to do that. And I mean, as a quickest way, definitely Python are also able to do that. But if let's say they have not catch up on the language, they can try to analyze using Excel.
I see. Interesting. So, as a non-tech person myself, I find that I'm learning new things every day when I speak to people such as yourselves. And I think it's good that you share these things, because I think along the way, when we do the Digital Ninja program, we hope to, upgrade it. So, like as Q was mentioning earlier, that this career immersion Digital Ninjas, the post-SPM 2019, they are needed to find out about careers in all genres of technology, data science, product development, AI, machine learning, those kind of things. So how we ask them to do is they need to do Excel, which Qayyum and his team has actually taught them the crash course of Excel. Because even that also is very important in university, right? So it's like a big, it's a stepping stone, but it's one of the biggest stepping stones to be prepared even to just do work in university. So I think it's good that we have that on the program. I think we need to enhance it more further, right? And Q is very Excel, so I think he's a data scientist himself, actually.
Yeah, but I do agree with what Shazwanee was saying back when, because before when I was in the finance industry, I was in the investment banking side. We were called credit analysts. Or analyst was more common than scientists. Scientists, I think most people think of people wearing lab coats and such. But yeah, I thought that a very interesting point about this is as how I got myself interested into a certain field is because of that discovery of certain softwares that along the way that, by sometimes not even directly connected to what course that we're actually supposed to take, but that actually became one of the catalysts of actually driving the profession forward. Because I wondered, say for what Shazwanee's experience was like when you first started, you don't really know like that you're going to end up to be called a data scientist or choose that as a profession. Mostly maybe back then mathematicians, I used to think that, actuaries are for people who want to be in insurance and things like that. So now you have a lot more opportunities, and at the same time, because of taking that programming classes, that has allowed you to actually mobilize your own expertise into these different types of industries. I think that is also I think would be very true, at least for my experience as well.
Yeah, true. I think because of my background is statistics, and I took applied statistics. So basically, I have the idea how to apply all the theories, and because of able to do the application of statistics, and I have a background of some tech, and hence why I able to move from one industry to another. So I can also jump into a research if I want to. Yeah.
That's so interesting. I think what you are learning is needed in a lot of major industries that, like mines on customer data and of course behavioral, for you to create and generate products and services that actually tailor-made, if possible, to the most. I also wanted to ask, what is Apache Spark?
So it is one, it's not software, tools to help us a lot of data. It's not a lot of data, near real time data. So we put it this way. Back then, 10 years ago, we have only 10 million rows that we have been receiving on a daily basis. But then now, we have 10 million rows to be fed in on every second. So yes. So we need to use another tools that help us to get that kind of data. Hence, we use Apache Spark or Kafka. It then depends to then help us to get such information at the correct time.
Interesting. I think to be a data scientist as well, you evolve with whatever tools that comes up, right?
Yes.
So you have to be ever learning, ever adapting, and sometimes
every day is a learning phase for me. And then now we have cloud, so we have been exposed to Google.
Aside from the qualifications that you need to become and the skill sets that you need to become a successful data scientist, what are the kind of characteristics that you see amongst data scientists that makes them better or a good data scientist in general?
Yeah, so I always, because I'm a senior data scientist, so I am responsible to interview on the junior. For the right attitude. Okay, so the attitude here is willingly to learn. They always hunger for knowledge. If you are always hunger for knowledge, you definitely can go further in this field, definitely. And that if you hunger for the knowledge, meaning that you are willing to get your hands dirty. Once you get your hands dirty, you will have a steep learning curve. So in terms of money will definitely come along the way. Then when you actually that the first goal is the money, uh, way how the youngsters should see it, because money will definitely come along the way, because once people know your value, they will definitely how to say give you, reward you uh, as your worth. Yeah, something.
I was just wondering, I think you are a parent yourself, right?
Mm-mm.
So let's see, what advice can you give to parents out there if they see, if they, let's say, they find that, this data scientist, of course, our parents will always be the ones to dictate, for the kids to be, for their children to be what they are. And let's say, for example, they want to test and see how their kids, or maybe, nurture them to that data science genre. What would your advice be for parents to expose their kids to?
Okay, so like me, because I have 4 and 6 years old, I expose them to art and also maths as well. So, and I noticed that my kid thinking with quite sharp logic thinking as compared to the arts. So from that, maybe will be a start for me. You can also always have your kids to explore a lot of things. Sometimes I because of this MCO, I purchased this coloring thingy mold, and then you just color the mold, and from that coloring you will then able to see whether your kids will just color everything in the same color, or how they color it, whether very neat, or because from that activity I'm surprised that the 4-year old son able to color. It's very, like, even though a thin line, he then able to do it in a very neat manner. So because my expectation was he will then definitely take only one color for that, but it is not. Yeah. So yeah, the I have to say the parents should always have the kids to explore, and you observe from the output.
And then you work from there, is it? So basically,
Yes, you will
yeah.
never.
Mm. Mm. So okay, so basically, explore and then observe the output, and then from then on, you see what is the next level that you can expose them to, right? So
Yep.
to step up, and also one child is not the same as the parent, or maybe same as the other siblings, right? So okay, that's a good point. I think for parents, I think exposure is also very important, even in younger age, teenage years, pre-university. Even now, even at our age, I think we're still exploring, right?
Yes.
Exploring
Yes.
and testing and trying. And so
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
that's a good one to have. I wanted to ask you, what is let's say your top 5 predictions for the next 20 years of data science? Like what is, what's coming up? What do
The
you
mega trends of things. Yeah.
No. For the next 30 years. So the car should be flying. I don't know. 20 years is
Yeah, right.
What about
next
the
5 years.
Can also. Yeah, what do you predict maybe in the next 5 years? Or maybe next week, next year, who knows, right?
Yeah, next year maybe the Python language will be obsolete. You will never know, because we have a new language coming in. They call it Julia. So Julia also will slowly taking place, and the way I see it, it will then, because of the logic is the same. You will always feel I feel overwhelmed with the evolution of the technology itself. But since I have, Alhamdulillah, I have a good fundamental, so I will not be so worried. I mean that's how I think, because I will always see that the technology here will only help us to get a good result. I mean a fast result. Yeah, that's the role of the technology. But the data scientist, the data engineer, or this little ninja, they need to get a good fundamental. If you have a good fundamental, you can go anywhere or any field. Yeah, and a smart city. I mean, not really smart city lah. We have a good base on the smart itself. Maybe we can have a smart farm, which help the poultry farmers out there. Yeah, which basically helping the IR 4.0. Mm.
Okay, I think Anish, you have another question, sweetie.
This question just pop up when you introduced us that say there will be a new language program called Julia. Okay, this is actually come to my mind when you said that. You know, when people start to creating this programming language and everything, and they created this name, like what? Why do you pick that name? Like why Java is called Java? Why Python is called Python? While the new language is called Julia?
You need to ask those who invented the language.
Yeah, because sometimes I'm like, why? Why do we call the
R.
programming for the website is like HTML? Why we have a C++ and we have C? So I'm a bit curious, like, how do they get the name for the programming?
I know for the R because of one of the lecturer. I mean, one of the founder itself R. But I really forgot on the story behind it. There is a reason or a story why they able to come up with with that particular name. Maybe if you just Google for the R, you will get the story. It is kind of famous story, but I forgot already. Python as well. Python, not sure, but R, yes.
But maybe Python because it's hard and it clings you, it twists around you, and it clings you like a snake would, and you get ready. That could be it. Everything else is logic. The name is not logic. So yeah.
It's constricting yourself and to a point where you can't really breathe after learning
Yeah.
it. I heard that Python is actually one of the easier ones to learn compared to, say, C++.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that's also one of because I also like to teach people, and one of the recommendation that they asked me to teach the secondary schooler was Python because they said they wanted to introduce the kids for Python first because Python is the easiest one to learn. So
Mm.
yeah, what your opinion, Ms. Shazwanee? Is really Python is the easiest one, or is there any other language that is even more easy for them to actually learn?
The easiest one is actually SQL. That's the simple test. That's
SQL.
because SQL will slowly train you on the logic, because they have to like select this thing, and let's say if you want to join a different table, you will just take another chunk of it, and then the student will then able to see, okay, this is how if I want to join these two tables. While Python, you only have one line. Yeah. So maybe some kids cannot see it. By SQL, how they write it is by flow. So flow one is your table A, the flow two is your table B, and the output is your table C, for example. So they will able to see the flow by flow. Yeah.
Oh, so okay. Sorry, I keep on popping question about programming because I love programming. I stopped a while programming because of SPM, and now I'm get ready to back to get back on track. So
Mm-hmm.
okay, this is what I found during my teaching people about coding and everything. I look at some of the kids actually learn coding by blocks, but some of us like me actually learn coding by one line like that.
Mm.
So in the university, actually, are we going to actually learn by blocks or by line? And if for example, if in the university you are going to use lines and you're going to have this complex programming, how are we going to prepare these kids to actually who has this interest in programming but they been learning using blocks? Mm.
Oh,
Understand?
yes. Um, that one I'm not sure, because because Java is by once I execute the query, specific line. So that was Java, which I think much easier for that. By blocks, I'm not sure because to give a start, SQL is a good language for data exploration. Basically for the kids to able, okay, if I change this, what will happen to this data set? SQL will just help you directly that way. Maybe I'm not sure about others, but for me, I need to see on the output that I have changed. If I didn't see it, I don't understand it.
I see. Thank you.
No problem.
Sorry, I keep on keeping getting questions.
Okay, don't worry. A spin-off from what Anis was asking, Ms. Shazwanee, let's say the kids are interested to be a data scientist and maybe they don't know where to begin, and the basic of any data scientist is also to understand language. So what basic few language do you think would be the strong fundamentals in the event, let's say all these languages are coming up? Like you've got to learn R, there's Julia. So what basic languages do you think they need to prep themselves with to be their foundation?
Yeah, so I helped the data star module last time. The fundamental will be a little bit of maths. Not maths, stats. See, so you take a simple course of stats, which means like the t-test, ANOVA test, chi-square test, or whatever. Because from that test, they were able to understand based on two groups. So what kind of test that they should implement. The rest lah. So the stats is there, and then next is Python, the Python and SQL, because some company they don't have. It's not that they don't have, just that their current data software, so that you will then able to run your. So Python and SQL is considered a complement. And yeah, nothing much, because for the modeling part, you can straight away use Python for that.
I see. So basically, you're mentioning stats, basic stats,
The basic stats.
basic stats, and SQL and Python. These three things, is
Yes.
a good fundamental for any
Yes.
you want to do
Data scientist. But for the basic stats, I noticed when I taught the data star program, we need to able to tell the students that, okay, why you do this, why not this, why using method A and not method B instead. So we need to show them, if you use method A, this is the output. If you do method B, this is the output. So which one of the output that you think will give you a good result? Yeah.
You see, you were mentioning data star a few times. What program is that?
It was like MDEC one, I think. Still not. It's not. I think it is program under MDEC. 2 years ago, I think. Is it 2 years ago?
So MDEC has a lot of divisions. So yeah, but thank you for joining us again, for being with our MDEC's program, this Digital Ninja as well. I think do you still have time for a few more?
Yes.
Awesome. You have.
I do wanted to expand a little bit on what you were asking earlier. There is this argument on whether or not a data scientist should be from a computer science field, or they should pick up an applied science field, like mathematics, or it can be in finance, or a specific field that they're meant to be in, and you can learn programming at the back end.
We say we don't have a specific how to say or the correct way to say, okay, if you want to be data scientist, you have to be background of computer science. No, because this is just a culture, which is not a healthy culture. Because data scientist is actually a mixture of those with good logic. So who are because I can only think of these three, because these are the three fields that can help the students have a good logic. If you have a good logic, you will be able to write the code and you will get the model, whatever.
So it's not really about that means that in a way you also don't feel it is super necessary to be in
Computer
computer
science
science. Yeah.
background. But I have to admit that those with computer science background, they will have an advantage to write programming
Mhm.
because that was their that is their specialty. But it then tie back to the logic. If let's say you are very good in programming, but your maths fundamental is not good, so what do you want to write to get the result then? What are
Mm.
the maths behind it? Yeah,
Mm.
like that.
So yeah, okay. That's something that I see a lot. You have especially from the banking side, you have analysts, but they're from finance background, or you have mathematicians, and we do see from research, we see that in terms of the level of education, either be it from just a diploma or a degree, or masters or PhD. We saw, like, I think from one of the research on the video that we've been seeing with the ninjas is there is a slight. There used to be a very high requirement for data scientists to be in a PhD, an academician kind of level of mathematics or computer science. I think now doesn't seem to be much as the case. Is that correct?
It's because a lot of the PhD. I mean, this is my this is my opinion. Okay, the PhDs, yeah, they are very good in what they have been doing. Just that in a real world problem, I mean, based on the industry, company to save costs and generate more revenue. So the way I see it, I won't be bothered whether you have the PhD or not. As long as you're able to deliver the result that I want, I am okay with that. Yeah.
All right, so that's straight from Axiata. Anybody
And
who can deliver, guys.
yes, anyone that can deliver. But first thing is the right attitude lah. With the right
Mm.
attitude. Yeah. That's the first and foremost.
So that's quite interesting take from what we want to understand about data science, and I hope the explanation just now also demystify for you guys who are actually listening in what data scientist is about. It's not somebody in a white lab coat,
Yeah.
tinkering with knobs and dials on a supercomputer.
Yes.
So it is actually somebody who analyzes, gathers the data, that sets the data parameters of whatever they want to gather, analyze it, and solve something, or visualize it to their customers and clients.
Yep. And one thing, along the way, right, in your work, if you think that by pursuing study from my side, I mean, I will be taking PhD if I want. If you think that by taking PhD will add on more value to that company or add on more value to you, please just pursue. Yeah. Okay. So just bear in mind that you have to think behind it. Whatever steps that you do or whatever course that you take, it must be a value added to you. If there is no value added, then drop it. I mean, you are just wasting time.
So a lot of them, especially for the ninjas right now that is in the program, they're actually currently they just gotten their UPU results, so they're just about to get ready into. Some of them are already in the universities. I think Muaz is not here, but we have a few of them who's already in the university. Some of them are about to get ready in the university. They will be making their choices of the specific streams very soon after they finish either matriculation or the foundation years. What advice can you give to aspiring, I wouldn't say, now we can say data scientists because there's such a thing, or also some advice to those who are pursuing an ambition that might not even exist today? How do you what would your advice be for them to prepare for it?
Oh, so yes, because uh, it is a place where you get a free learning. I mean, if let's say let's say it is not free, pun it's considered cheap because out there it is quite expensive. It's like very expensive. So I mean, specific courses that you think you like it, then just go for it. And then make sure you have a balance of how to say learn and also the other skills and I mean in terms of your social skills and your dalaman also your mental and your rohani, yeah. So it just go and explore. Because back then when I was in a UM, I also took business class, business in English class, something like that, just to get an understanding what actually the real world out there. Yeah, it's just only 2 hours credit, which is quite good actually. Now, oh, this is what's happening. Yeah. So please don't limit yourself only on engineering course or how to say computer course. You have to take the other kind of classes or courses as well, and a lot of other activities being offered. For example, a project manager for a program, or then organize a pesta or whatever. You have to go for it because it will then add on your social skill. So this kind of social skill will add more value on how you think to solve problem. Yeah.
Basically, they need an all-rounder, right? That not only you need to have the technical skills, but be socially adaptable, and also that's how you work with teams, right? And also for
Mm-mm.
you to also understand behavior is also a way for you to to data mining to a certain extent to understand the behavior as well, right? So,
Yep.
oh, right? People actually out there. I want to ask another thing as well. Okay, being a data scientist and you did a lot of related things, what's your favorite data science related website, blog, YouTube, magazine, or external resources that you look into to know what's the latest? Like if you TechCrunch, what is what you like, what you always go to.
So I mean I have a few. The one that I follow in LinkedIn is related to the deep learning, and because deep learning I think kind of making sense. So maybe I mean not maybe we can do something about deep learning for the next 2 years I think, whereby we then able to produce something that can help the company itself. Yeah, and I will always tell my juniors if you have any problems, because as I said just now, SQL is considered basic for most of the companies, whereby you guys can just easily tap into the data warehouse and do the data messaging. For you to able to understand the logic behind it, there is a website that I learned is the W3 Schools website. It is super easy. You can learn Java as well. They will then guide you. So that's considered a very basic website that you can explore. The W3 School. Oh yes, someone typed it already.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay, so good. Then they have the same interest. Nice.
Yes.
Okay, and also, is there like a famous data scientist that you're into? Like only you data scientists people know all. Like maybe the Einstein of data science has, like master of data science. Is there a certain person you look up to?
No, I mean, I don't like really have that. Just that I envy this a female data scientist is actually head of data scientist in Terra Data. So she's I really forgot her name. She's quite smart, And if let's say you have the opportunity to go further, and if you have the right skill, right, you should aim is analytics specialist for the McKinsey team. So, and also Google. Google is another company that you should like aim to go or to work there. Yeah. Always aim for the higher one. Then, yeah.
Of course, the highest being with Axiata for
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 Malaysia.
austerity reasons.
Okay. So I think what you're saying is aim for the stars. If you don't reach it, at least you're in the sky. You know, that kind of
Yes,
thing.
correct. Because your effort should be the stars, right?
Yeah.
And yeah.
Right. I think I have a few other questions. Can I still ask you, Ms. Shazwanee?
Can?
Okay.
Yeah. We hope that we're not like dragging your time or anything.
No, I've like never mind. I can have like 10 or 15 more minutes.
Awesome. Okay, so you mentioned that the companies that you like most is Teradata. There's a McKinsey, that's the consulting firm, and of course Google. I think that's who's ever in tech, that's their dream playground, right?
Yes.
So have the kids find out more about that, yeah, too, see what Teradata is about, and also.
But I know, sorry, but I know the kids also love Facebook.
But now they're into more Instagram than Facebook. Apparently, Facebook is our generation, apparently.
Oh.
They're more into Instagram. So things that we need to share with
Yeah.
them, that is Instagram only. So like, and TikTok, and we don't really
Yeah.
so much.
Please, no, not TikTok.
Kids nowadays is more towards, TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat, where they have, filters and everything. That's the social media nowadays lah. Teenagers and kids always use.
Yeah,
Now
but
also some of the kids also dream about being a YouTuber.
Yeah, we in fact, I think for the ninjas, it's not about dreaming, right? I think some of you guys have YouTube channels, so maybe you can share on the link on the chat. So yeah.
correct.
I want to ask something a bit negative. What is the curse of, let's say, when it comes to data science? I'm sure there's also a negative part in the sense that that kids need to be prepared of. So what is the big curse of big data, being in big data? Is there such like be ready for the load, or is it you mentioned earlier? I think being internally strong as well, because you were mentioning you're dealing with data that used to be 10 million in a week or in a month. Now it's 10 million in what, in a minute or in
Seconds. In seconds. Yeah.
be prepared for. We always say good things. Also, I think they need to know maybe what is it that will they need later as they go into this genre of work.
They think we are like witch or wizard. We have this man. We actually don't have that. Just a bit result. Then help the business after that. And it's not a curse. It's actually an opportunity for the data scientists to do a lot of exploration, and you can play with it. Yeah, it is a good playground, basically, because there is no right or wrong. No one will then able to tell you what you have done is wrong or what you have done is right. It is only right if you get a good result, or I would say your work is right if the company able to get more revenue and save costs. Which is the end of the day.
Can I ask a question that is more on the context of current issues of today? So if you see how MCO of how COVID has affected everything, and with MCO is being the recovery MCO is currently underway, and we'll see that gradual change. But of course, we'll see that a number of things that we used to take for granted from before will have to change. That there will be a new normal in a way, right? How do you see that has affected number one, the telco industry, and two, maybe how do you see that data science can help people adapt to the new normal or make our lives better, after this pandemic is over?
Oh, this MCO, I would say a good thing where the local seller, the local the local shops, how the little scientists can help is help them together in a single platform and then promote it. Okay, because they are not expertise in terms of the digital, so
how to bridge that gap to
correct.
yeah.
Yes, and also another thing is payment via the e-wallet instead of the physical payment. Yeah, so this kind of channel everything, right? They need someone like us to help this kind of people, the local shops basically. Because if they want to hire a vendor to do it, it will be very expensive. Yeah.
What about the telco sector? Have they been affected? Have they been affected positively by people staying indoors, or also negative in a sense?
I would not, because telco is considered an essential business. So I think the impact is not that huge. And having said that, they also able to give a free data to all Malaysians, right? Yeah. So which is good as well, because of Malaysian smartphone penetration is around, I think, more than 70% or 90% now, which is high. Hence, what they've been offered on the one gig data on daily basis.
So you're rolling into 5G now, right? Yeah. So that would be. Could you share with us a little bit about what, for those who don't really understand, what is the difference between 4G and 5G, and why is there is a risk for everybody's going into this 5G segment?
Yeah, because human never satisfied with what they have. So, so let's say if you have YouTube to stream, let's say it will just take you a few seconds to load full. You need lesser than that. Hence, the one is 5G lah.
Nobody has time for that now, right?
Yes, I cannot wait.
Wait. True.
All right, yeah. Is there any more? Maybe I can take one more question.
Okay, let's see. Okay, let's say if you were given a dream assignment, right? Let's say you've not had, it's something maybe a bit amazing or maybe wonderful, but you've not had it. What kind of assignment would be an awesome one for you as a data scientist? Is there anything that you feel that you want, to do?
It is a good question, because I have this beginning of the year. I want to help Malaysia to have a smart plantation. Okay, so it's not only in terms of the plantation, also in terms of the poultry as well, the chicken farm. And in terms of the smart plantation, whereby the device able to control the water intake and also able to alert the farmer when is the best time to harvest, or let's say for the getah wine. So this all this activity, if we able to do the correct way, we can increase the productivity and also save cost. It will I have to start with the smart device, whereby someone need to develop it, test it, and data need to fit in. Hence, if you have 5G, we able to send the large amount of data on a milliseconds, and we can store it into cloud, because we have cloud now and a cheaper price for storage. And data scientists can go into that and do the analysis and predict, okay, when is the best period that the farmer should come, or the poultry guy can come and do harvesting, and when is the next cycle that they can do. So, for example, if you take around 60 days to produce or to sell chicken, you can shorten the period. Yeah, and you can have more cycles.
Interesting that you say it's agriculture, right, Q? Because we have a team of digital ninjas. They went to represent the country last year in Beijing with a couple of, I think, 7 other countries, and they got second. They came up with this app called Agri, and it's like social media, but for agriculturists. You know how data is important, and sometimes when you want to get back to Jabatan Pertanian or Jabatan Perikanan, it takes a bit of time to give them data. So that is actually an avenue for them to talk among themselves, in the sense that sharing data, like sharing data in the sense that, oh, that happened to me, So I was wondering, is Mukri here? Mukri?
I think
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Hi, Mukri. Can you maybe share with Miss Shazwanee what your app is about?
Okay. So Agri is an app. It is a modern Q&A platform made for farmers or gardeners or anybody in agriculture sector to ask questions, and anyone can also create a discussion, answers questions, and all about that. So the main problem to tackle right now is farmers and gardeners. They need knowledges. So if they face problems, they will generally go to Facebook or Telegram or WhatsApp and ask their friends. So this app will easily connect all of them in one place and gather all of the discussed topics. So let's say you have a problem, then you can just go to the app and browse through discussed topics. Or if you can find one, you can ask questions, and there are a lot of people, professional or experts, will answer your questions like that.
Is at what level now? Yeah, is it still at prototype level?
Yes, it is prototype level. The website is like 70%.
So it's okay, Ms. Shazwanee, if they maybe email you some details for you maybe to read out, and maybe if you can give some feedbacks, or maybe they can present to you even.
Can. So to make things easy for these people, right? Because they are not familiar with the website, for example. So to make things simple, you can have a tab like to then identify, for example, let's say you want to do chili, right? So chili, you must type what? Is it a problem related to soil or the water or the humid, or what are the phases? Yeah, if you're able to group it, then they can just go to that phase. To that category and ask problem from there instead of having a general platform.
Oh, okay, I understand. And the second feature about the app is, I call it as Health ID. It is a plant disease identification. So currently, I'm working on Health ID, and the problem with Health ID is I have to gather a lot of images to train the model. Right. So the problem is I do not have a lot of images. Like the data is very hard to find because I just grab it from the Google. So it, So how can I tackle this?
Pictures, like really, because we did that in one of our project. In terms of the image, right? So one of the project that I had is, not me, the team had. Where is the best place to put your your billboard? So because of the Google image is not based on the recent data, we stroll along the street and we then capture these images. And these images we store in Google Cloud, and we do the processing there. So we need to make a one-time investment whereby we need to purchase that device that need to capture the street image. I think you have to invest a little bit lah.
Yeah, data gathering.
Yeah, or Or
They're
maybe
doing raw
get
data.
agricultural people, like maybe the Jabatan Perikanan, Peladang, have them send you photos, since you don't have your
yes.
own 10
Right.
hectare farm, so you need to be friends with.
Okay.
I
Yes.
hope
Yeah.
it's free.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So I think it's okay, yeah, Ms. Shazwani, if we have them email you their maybe brochure. So and maybe you can take a look. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Okay, we've got joined with us one of my colleague, Hanina. She's the one who actually connected us to you. So Hanina, thank you so much. We're learning a lot of things from Shazwani.
Yeah. Hello.
Hi, you're
Hi,
welcome.
Ivy.
Hello.
I think we've gone over the limit by 20 minutes. Thank you so much, Shazwani. But on a passing note, just before you go off, can you maybe just say like a two-liner saying, "Hi, my name is Shazwani. I'm a senior data scientist, and I'm from Axiata Analytics Center." Because we want to make that like a
What a soundbite.
soundbite.
Okay.
Can we do that? Whenever
All
you're
right.
ready, Shazwani. Okay, thanks. And okay, thank you so much for your time. And sorry, Nani, you dah habis baru masuk. But if you guys can have your videos on, just maybe say bye. Buat bising sikit, cakap thank you kat Miss Shazwani. We've got a lot of sharing and a lot of things that you need to do. Nak belajar SQL, Python, and also statistics. I'm a data analyst.
Thank you, Miss Shazwani.
All right. Thank you, guys. Thanks.
Right, thanks.
All right. Good luck.
Thank you, Michael.
Salam.
Waalaikumsalam. I think that was a very good session. I hope I do hope you guys saw or heard, or got the inference in a way that's similar to what I saw. It's essentially what we are actually doing. It kind of validates, Miss Shazwani kind of validates a little bit of what we're doing, right? You might feel like, it's like, why are we doing Excel, right? And then Miss Shazwani says, this is the mother load,
Yes.
the mother of all applications. So I do hope that you find sort of like a bit of a closure of why like Mr. Q and Nadia and Azra have been torturing us with all this homework.
Word closure. Oh, sebab tu lah. But we only want the best for you, though it sounds a bit irritating and we like to torture you, but it's actually for your own good. So nanti after this, you will become an awesome data scientist or analyst or whatever it is you choose. Okay, the next one is at 2 o'clock, but we'll meet you up at 1:45, yeah?
Yep.
Sure, if I can.
Oh, long. Oh.
Tengoklah, sebab saya pun tak pasti lagi saya pergi emergency